All right, welcome. Today in this video we are going to be looking at in Microsoft Access how to create a form with a subform. So I've already got an Access database created, and if you watched the previous video you would know where it was. And there that is. Let me expand it out. All right, so here's our original database. I'm going to look very quickly at the relationships. Just to show you, we've already set up the relationships with order items, and item, or the customer also. And we were remembering here we have a customer, the one-to-many for customer to order. I've got order to order items is a one-to-many, and item to order items is also a one-to-many. So this is something you probably know from your database, like concepts class, but this is not something we're going to discuss here. We're just interested in actually creating a table, and it's more or less for a rapid way to do a prototype. So I'm going to close out the relationships window, and we're going to create just a main and a subform that allows us to enter data for orders. So we're going to do an order form that will have where I can put the details of the order, and then within that form it'll have a subform where I can add items to the order. So what we want to do here is, it doesn't actually matter. Microsoft is really built for this kind of stuff. Doesn't matter what we click on first, but I'm going to hit here. By the way, I can hit form right now, and I would actually get a pretty good order thing. So it's kind of interesting. If I just click on the table and hit form, like it'll rock it out. And in fact, yeah, well, I'll tell you in a minute how you do that. All right, so here we go. We hit Form Wizard here. So we started the Form Wizard. Let me move this down a little bit so we can make sure we see it all. And I pick first, which tables or queries do I want? I tend to pick from my one table all the fields I want. So there's order ID, date, store number, method of delivery, and the customer. I can hit this button and it will add them all. So that's super exciting. That tells Access these are the fields I want to see on this report. I can then go back to this list and pick order items. And then here, I don't want order ID because I already have it. I just need the item number and the quantity sold. Okay? Access, again, is super built for this. If I hit finish right now, it'll actually give me a pretty good looking form. I'm going to go ahead and hit next, though. And here I can choose linked forms. Just don't ever use, like, I don't know. Well, I guess I wouldn't say don't ever use. There's probably a time and a place for this, but generally you want a form with subforms. And notice here on the left side we're saying by order. That means the order details are appearing at the top with a subform with those order items. If I click by order items, since the relationship is one-to-many, it has to list all of the fields together. Okay? You remember from your database class, this would be called a denormalized situation, and we do not need to be denormalized because we are going to be entering the data we need. So there's our main and our subform. That's what they call this form with subforms. I hit next. Now I get to pick what I would like the subform to look like. I'm going to pick tabular. Datasheet is actually the default, and I'll show you in a minute a datasheet view, because datasheet is actually just what it looks like when you open a table. So anyway, I'm going to hit tabular and I hit next. Tabular makes it so I can also do some stuff. Okay, so I got titles do you want. I'm going to call this one order entry, and then order items subform. Sometimes here, when I'm actually doing this for like clients, or if I was doing this for a client, or I would be careful here to say order item subform for order entry. So I might just put dash order entry. And that way I know, because I'm going to, later there will be just a list of form and subforms, and I need to know like what subform, like what main form this subform belongs to. I should put order space entry. All right, oops. Order space entry. All right. So I got two options here. One is open the form to view or enter information. Second is modify. I'm going to go ahead. Oops, it doesn't like my name, or does it? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do it in, let's enter some data just for grins. So I'm going to hit finish. You weren't here watching when I put stuff in, but I actually have a little bit of data already in my database. So here's an order number 1 that was on Halloween. Store number 2, somebody got a dine-in order. That's my only record though, okay? Let me do an order number. I'm just gonna hit this button, which will go to a new record. Also, if I hit next record, it'll do a new record too. And let's say this is another day. What is this gonna be? We're gonna order something on Christmas. And of course that was in 2028 also, oops, 2028. Let's just put store number 1 here. Method of delivery was a delivery. And customer ID, we'll just put customer 2. Now I can add items to that order. So item number here, let's say we ordered item number 2 and we sold 2 of them. And we sold item number 3 and we also sold 2 of those, okay? If I was doing this in actual development, it's possible in Access to have this look up stuff from the items table. So it could be that I switch, there'd be a drop down list here and it would say item number 2 is for the roast beef sandwich. Item number 3 is a small drink, I can't remember. That's why you have it in this table, huh? Okay, so that's really beautiful. You can see that I entered the data and now I'm going to close this order form. Now I'll leave it open. Let me just show us in here in the order table. I'm going to open the order table. And so here's our 2 orders we had. The first one you already saw was from Halloween, and here's our Christmas one. I got dine-in, I got delivery, 2 different customers and 2 different stores. Okay? And then in the order items table, I'm going to open that one up. You see here I have 2 items on order 1. It was item number 1 and item number 3. And order 2 had item number 2 and item number 3. Okay, so this is about creating forms, so I'm not going to get into too much into the data details, but for now let me flip over here to design view. One of the advantages of doing this tabular view down here in the subform is that I can sort of customize it. So one of the things I normally like in my captions here at the top is I actually want them to be centered. So I'm going to hit format here and I'm going to center those. I also want to customize like I may not say item number. Like you might even just put like item ID, or I might hit item £. Let's do £. And here, quantity sold, no one cares, it's like quantity sold. Let's just put quantity. And that sounds very exciting. So I can redo the captions here. I can also in here, this is a header, and so this appears at the top of the form. I can move these up. I'm using the arrow keys. You can't see me doing it, so I'm going up to the very top here. And then I can actually shrink the size of the form header. So that'll make the form header a little smaller. And then I can move the caption over. I prefer these to be on the top. So I'm going to put that there. And then I will put something like add items to this order. So this is sort of like the idea that if someone was actually entering this, like if I had an employee, I want that to be nice. There might be a little bit of distance between the caption and the thing. And I can also here, since there weren't that many items on an order, let me expand this just a little bit. I'm going to shrink this one. So you can see, right, that this, oops, come on, baby. Should be able to shrink this subform. Come on, there it is. I'm going to shrink this subform so it doesn't take up so much space. Probably ought to go like that. Okay, so make it a little narrower. And then here you notice I can shrink up this form footer. I like to leave a very tiny amount of space at the bottom. Part of my kind of what they call a fat footer sometimes. This can also be, I don't know why Access does this either. Let me shrink that down because that's dumb to have it so big. This is a pretty decent form header. I want to make sure I include all the text. I'm going to shrink that down too, so I have a little bit of space. That looks great. What a fantastic looking form. I'm going to shrink that down from the side. Ooh. I just impress myself more and more. Now I go back here to home, go back to view, form view. It probably ought to ask me to save, and it didn't, but that's fine. It will do before I close. Notice it just looks a little better. I can adjust, like there's a little bit of spacing here between Notice that it goes like alternates gray, and that's very exciting here. You can customize like what you see. Like you wouldn't really need these navigation buttons since there's only going to be a few items on here, but I think that gives you the idea of what's going on. All right, let me close that one. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like if I just click order, go to create, and hit form. And like I said, I basically get the same thing. Okay, notice here there's order ID. Automatically they do it just a little bit differently. I love this cute little like icon. Anyway, here's the same information. Notice here, this is the data sheet view. It's a little harder in here to change what the headers are. So that's why, that's the situation where you would kind of want to do it yourself. As I recall, you can change these headers, but I'm not going to do it now because that's kind of outside the scope of what we're doing. But notice from here also, I can go back here. I can get back into design view, and this one can also be sort of modified. And notice here I got table.order items. This is how we know. This is just pulling the data from the table, and it's picking certain fields. And that is going to be master fields. There's our linking. That's our foreign key right there. Yeah, I'll just leave it. So I'm just going to leave that for there because I don't think you need to get into too much detail there. But this is enough to create sort of a prototype of a form.